your... Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're back live.
All right. Well, so we're back, and now we're moving back into open session here and looking at the proposed easement amendment for Kingsport Homeowners Association. And I don't know if Jackie is still with us. If you are, please come out. But I think what Jackie was kind of sharing with all of us here was the question for us is whether or not we want to recommend the proposed amendment to this conservation easement as it's been proposed. I think some of us probably that could have been a good idea. Actually, you might not want to stop that one. So whether or not we want to approve or not approve, excuse me, whether or not we want to recommend the approval of this conservation easement amendment, or if we have additional suggestions, additional questions we want to send back to the city for review. And I think with that, I know we've got a couple of folks that had sort of thoughts about whether or not we have enough information to make the decision. Would love to hear kind of your thoughts on that at this point.
I guess I'll go. I think we need to see the exhibits before we could, to have some more information before we could make an educated recommendation. And the exhibits, to clarify, the exhibits being the actual turnaround area and what that layout would be, and its location and size and that kind of information.
I agree with Jack.
I agree with that.
Yep. Okay, so I'm making sure we get the question. So where the turnaround area would be located, size. I think one I might add to it, if you all agree, is also the right term is sort of construction material. If we're talking about, yeah.
Is it going to be impervious, that type of thing?
Yep, impervious. Where they're thinking there. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we would. Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
What's the timing? Like, is this something that the city wanted to happen within the next month or two, or is this something that this is an issue that's sounds like it's been lingering for a long time, that it's not in a tight deadline, but I'm just kind of curious on what the timing would look like.
Yeah, Jackie or Ashley, if you have any answers for us there about kind of the timeline for trying to move with this amendment.
I don't think the city has a timeline. I can't speak for the two private parties, but I'm not aware of a timeline for us.
Yeah, well, so I guess what we can do is maybe Racine, this is a question for you, what the best thing is for us to do, if we should just simply kind of send an email to you or Ashley, if that email should be to you or to planning and zoning, kind of saying, we discussed it at the board meeting and we would need additional information in order to provide a recommendation related to this easement amendment, and kind of specify where it is, size of it, and whether it's impervious or pavements or what's intended there. Who should we direct that?
I'm going to say send it to Ashley and copy me on it, especially if there's going to be a site visit. And I'd like to come along on the site visit so I know what you guys talk about and what you may or may not decide.
So sound good to you, Ashley?
Yes, that is fine. Sorry for the background noise.
You're fine. No. All right. Well, I'll write that up and I'll shoot it over to Ashley and Racine, and I can copy the full board as well so you all can see it and the responses that come through.
Thanks, Jenna.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Appreciate the time and all the good conversation. All right, so now moving on to our next order of business, which you may notice sort of flows from some of our previous discussion here. I listed this as identifying additional easement discrepancies. That might not be the best title, but what you have kind of seen related to the easement we were just discussing, as Karen alluded to, it happens in other easements that we look at, where we go back and we read through the deed, and then we have these questions as to whether or not, well, number one, is this really an easement that we should be the ones monitoring it? Is it really meant as a conservation easement? And then two, what exactly is allowed, or where exactly is it located, and does that match the maps or the plats that we have? So I put this item on here probably to have a discussion about that. And I think also, if you guys are interested, to sort of elicit some assistance here. And I'm wondering if folks would be at all interested in sort of each of us taking a couple of these easements, which, are on our website, and they all have, well, not all of them, but most of them have a deed and plats with them, and kind of taking a look at it and seeing what you think. Look at the map, look at the plat the best you can, obviously, and the deed, and kind of come back and say, you know what, I'm not really sure if this makes sense for us to be monitoring it, or it does, but I'm not sure where it is. And I would, these would be my suggestions, just to kind of try to get a little bit better organized, and then see if we can't take any suggestions we have and make some pretty specific recommendations, maybe to the city for some assistance there. What do you guys think? Is that?
Joanne, I think it
Mhm.
sounds like a great idea. I would ask, is it just the 17 easements that are on that PDF map that we have, or do we know how many in total there are that we would be reviewing?
Well, Jack, that is a good question. I would say let's start there, would be my
Okay.
response. I think those are the ones that we have traditionally monitored.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there are any new ones that aren't there yet. There's certainly, is it Parkside Preserve? Can someone correct me if I'm wrong. That one I think is officially created now.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
one
and
may
that's
not be
on
on
this.
there.
There is an easement that has been agreed upon,
Mm-hmm.
Parkside Preserve. I don't know where the paperwork is as far as whether it's been written out and signed.
It has been. It's been amended and reconfirmed a couple of times, but it's in land records. I think it's in the drive that you guys set up, but I can send it out again.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, actually, that would be great.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a little fluky because the Parkside Preserve developers went through multiple developers and multiple attorneys. So we did the initial conservation easement, got that recorded, then they found some errors. I think we recorded it again, and I think they found some more errors. Not so much to do with where the conservation easement was, but more with sort of the title work and ownership transfers. So there's I think 3 versions of it, but I'll send you the last one.
Yeah, that'd be great. And are we responsible for that easement? I think the answer is
yeah. I think
yes.
it's written, so yes. But
okay.
I worked on that project. I inherited it from an attorney who has since retired, so it's been a while.
Okay. So I would say, Jack, to answer your question, I think yes, with the addition of Parkside Preserve.
There's also that one at the retirement.
Is that not up there? Yeah.
Is that
I'm not
Baywoods?
sure if that one's. Well, there's Baywoods has been there for a long time, but there's a newer retirement community that's across the street from the Giant, across Forest Drive, or across Bay Ridge. Was that Bay Ridge Road?
I think it is up here. Is it Bay Village?
Bay Village?
Yeah. Okay.
That is up here, but it
Okay,
looks like
okay.
we don't have a deed on the website. We have a plat.
Okay.
So maybe Ashley, I might reach out to you and see if you have any documentation about that one.
I will look. I know I combed
Okay.
everything and made it comprehensive. Keep in mind that despite my legal preference for there to always be a deed plus the plat, that and many times developers were allowed to just do the plats. Yeah, I know.
Well, that's challenging.
It is.
Okay. And that's a new one.
Yeah.
Is that because the city they were using because there's like the city had at some point we had like a standard deed of conservation easement that the city was using for all these. Do you think that might be why that happened?
No, I'm not sure. I just know when I was looking through of them that some of them, because you can put you can, in theory, show it on a plat and then add plat notes that sort of say what can be done and what can't. It's shorter. And they don't tend to do it with conservation easements as much, but they do it all the time with like access and stormwater and utilities. And so sometimes to sort of save legal fees, so to speak, they would roll it into the conservation easement as well.
That's perfect. All right. This is an interesting one. So this is one I think Karen will probably have questions about. I'm just looking at the plat and it calls it a forest conservation easement. Which I don't know if that.
Guys, this is Tom. I got a question for you, Joanne. This is Bay Village is already up and running as a full-blown entity.
Yep, they're operating as a retirement.
They are I mean, they get buildings up, landscaping in, customers coming in, the whole 9 yards. So, not that we're, doing cart before the horse, but, wondering how they got, one, as far as they got, and then two, hopefully now that they've put everything in permanently, that, there will be some way in order to be able to capture what they have if there is to be a role for the, the Conservation Board.
Well, there's already an easement assigned there. We're just looking for the deed for it. I mean, that's why she's saying it's already platted. Like, so it's not, it's not a proposed easement, it's an existing easement.
That's right. Yeah. It's just doesn't have great records.
Because that's the one that they, like the city and the developers had this big press conference when they gave the easement.
Yeah, and they came to the board and all that. They talked to us.
It looks like they just, I think that was Ashley's point of like, sometimes it's just done by a deed of dedication or in the plat. So that's some of the language that's in this plat.
Yep. Well, see, we're finding them already.
Legally, then what would you recommend?
It is a legally sufficient way to set them up. It just tends to lack a lot of detail, for better or worse.
Yeah.
You put that very well. Okay. Understand.
Yeah. So, okay. So
yeah,
I think
this is the one where we went back and they had a whole bunch of abandoned tires, and then come COVID, and then now that COVID was lessening up, the next time you went there, you had older people coming in and a regular old folks home there. So it was just kind of an eye opener.
Yeah. All right. So does that sound pretty good to you guys? Each of us, maybe we could divvy up. I don't know, each take a couple of these and sort of dig in and sort of just look at it, see what questions come up for you. If it seems like it's still, and maybe that's a good thing, a good place to start here, kind of what questions we would want each of us to be looking at. And I'm going to say, number one, does this seem like an appropriate conservation area that meets the board's, mission? Does this make sense for us to continue to maintain and monitor?
And I would say that the answer to that may be yes and no, because there may be parts of it that meet our definition or, what we would consider worth monitoring and some that don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
absolutely.
for example, like August Woods, that townhome community, which is along Primrose Road going into Truxton Park, has both a good chunk of forest that has a conservation easement on it, and then like a very small buffer of trees along Primrose Road between backyards and the fence that is considered conservation easement that we probably wouldn't
traipse around in.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the biggest thing is also sort of what questions would you have for the board or for the city related to what it is you're reading? What's not making sense, what's not clear, and then what information do we need to have? If it's an improved map, we need whatever clarifying terms. Let's do that as well. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
So I'm just curious if it would make sense, as we're divvying these up, would it make sense to perform like a site visit, which leads me to my next question. Would it make sense to do the easement monitoring at the same time, so that we're kind of just doing it in an efficient manner? I don't know. I'm just proposing.
I think that is a good idea, Jack. And
You
I
know,
will have
are
to
we just
check
going to read this piece of
in.
paper and look at like a map, or should we actually be going to the easement to kind of confirm some things? I guess I haven't done this before, so any guidance that the more seasoned members of the board could provide would be helpful.
I second that, Jack.
Yes.
I think
Oh, go ahead,
that makes
Karen.
sense to me because I feel like that's when these questions arise. Is when we
Exactly.
go try
Yep.
to monitor.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I think so too. And I think Jack
Okay.
and Patrick, having both of you there, and well, so Linda too, because you haven't been on many of these either, but I know you've done quite a few in your day job, but I think having folks that haven't looked at some of these before is actually going to be really helpful. To say like, is the map helpful to you? Is the deed, does it really tell you what you need to know? Or do we need to have some kind of cheat sheet for some of these? I think there are things like that would be useful. Or even things like don't park here, when you're checking it out. I think it would be useful to have a little bit of a record for some of us for these. Okay. So maybe I'll send out an email and see what folks are thinking. Would you all want to do this kind of individually, or do we need to set up sort of a group thing for some of these?
I think for the first few, it'd be good to be a group, just like Jack was saying. It'd be good to go with a seasoned member who could kind of show me the ropes, or show Jack and I kind of how to look at on the ground, how to, I can read the documents, but actually reading the documents and then going out to the site to see. Yeah, I think that'd be helpful.
I think that sounds great. Yeah, we could do a few of them, and maybe we can pick some of these, like you're saying, Karen, and I can, get your thoughts on this, ones that we're not quite sure about, like you said, or there's pieces of it that seem pretty clear, but pieces it's like, should we really be monitoring in someone's, a little skinny piece of a backyard, or where's that line drawn? So that sounds great. What works for you all? After work, weekends?
Either of those.
for me right now, after work would be better than a weekend.
Okay.
So I'm not.
Joanna, maybe we could do a doodle poll, and if you need a hand, I'd be happy to maybe set one up, and then we can just have folks respond with their availability. Just choose the best time if that the most people could attend.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And we go ahead and do that. I might also just send the dates to Trudy separately, just in case that's troublesome. But yes, please feel free to have at it, Jack.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't doodle all the time, they've recently updated it. And I don't like the new setup, but you do sometimes, if there's multiple weeks in there, you have to click like a little blue arrow to make sure you see the second week of dates, which I will just say, as someone who unfortunately has to go to and schedule many meetings, lots of people are missing. So I would just make a note, check to see if there's a second week of dates. I know that's surprising, Jack, but it happens a lot.
Also, I'm wondering, like, so do we want to do like go as a group to just one or two and really look at it in detail, or do we want to try to, like, I think like in the past we've gone as a group, like just like done a quick stop at like a whole bunch of them, just to kind of orient people to where they are located, and just to give people an idea of like what easements we have around where, or we could do some hybrid of those two options. Or we could figure it out and email later.
Yeah.
Start with 2 or 3 and pick some dates and go as a group and see how we feel after that.
That sounds good. And if we're moving really fast, we can go, we can be ready to go check out a couple others, maybe, Karen. That's kind of what I was going to say. We could just say, we're going to do this for whatever, 2 hours or whatever we're thinking the time frame is. And, if it takes a while, looking at the plats and looking at what we have to sort of, orient ourselves and figure some of those things out, then we'll go a little bit slower.
So Joanna, before you move on to the next item, I'm wondering, have you ever thought about looking for a grant of some kind to maybe help you? I know that the boundaries of the existing easements has been in question. has anyone looked for, maybe a grant out there that might help you do that? Maybe write up a report or something?
We haven't. I know that, gosh, Jackie, I guess your predecessor, and I'm blanking on her name, which is terrible, but
Maria
she had,
Broadbent.
thank you, Maria. Yeah, she had an intern, and that was the person who kind of found all those deeds and plats and put them up on the website for us. So
Correct.
so that was super helpful. I think of who you would need, but yeah, I mean, I think it could be a student. It could probably be.
Okay. I've got plenty on my plate, but I'll keep my eyes open for something like that, and I'll bring it to the group if I find it, as far as a grant that would help you in identifying the boundaries, the exact boundaries of your easements.
Are we
Yeah.
able to utilize the, what is it, the mitigation funds? Hire an intern?
You mean the
I-
critical area fee in lieu? We
Yeah.
have the critical area fee in lieu, so we can do conservation easements. I don't think it would be inconsistent to say to verify the boundaries of our existing easements. I don't think that would be inconsistent with that use. However, Ashley, do you guys have any budget for doing that sort of thing?
I have no idea, but the last, I don't believe we have much of one, would be my guess.
And it seems like you contract that kind of work out every time you guys have to do
I
it,
think they do.
Yeah, generally we get someone outside to do it.
right?
Right. Yeah. So
So we
maybe.
look into whether we, what are we talking? How many, do we need to verify all of the easements, do we think? Or, I mean, the more recent ones, do we think those are in good shape? Trying to get an idea of how many we would want to do.
Well, I guess it takes kind of looking at them, but I don't think it's a bad idea to have somebody look through all of them and see if what we have is accurate. And, then I guess it would be creating the maps themselves. Do other folks have a thought on that? How much work we're talking about?
I'm not that familiar with them, like how accurate our records are, so.
Okay, I just know that I've heard in the past several times that, identifying the exact boundaries of the easements has been an issue. I think potentially if we can find a grant to help you out and get somebody in there to do that, it might help you on these site visits in the future. Maybe
Yeah,
not
totally
currently, but
agree.
in the
Yeah.
future.
It'd be
Totally
great.
agree.
I will say Racine, so Maryland Environmental Trust, they have, or no, I think it's just moved to the organization called Forever Maryland. I'll double check this Racine, but they have they have like a small grant for smaller projects for land trust. And I think we would probably be eligible. Just some of the conversations I've had with them in the past about that.
Okay, I'll take a look.
I'll look at that. Yeah, I can't remember. It used to be with Maryland Environmental Trust, but some of their work has gone on over to what's now called Forever Maryland. So I'm not sure who it lives with right now and if this is applicable. Well, yeah,
I'll keep
yeah.
an eye out.
Thank you. Yeah. And Jackie, if you're able to look at those, I guess, critical area funds and see if hiring an intern or something like that seems like a viable use of those funds. I don't think we would need a ton of money. But I'm not sure if that is the correct use or whatever. If you're able to take a look, Jackie, and kind of come back and let us know, that would be awesome.
Okay.
Thank you for that. All right, Jackie checking. All right, and thanks for sending out the poll, Jack. Always appreciate the help. So where are we headed next? I think the next thing we have on the agenda. Yes, the rules of procedure. Excited. I feel like we're getting all of our ducks in a row. It's an exciting moment. Linda, thank you so much for taking that and making the edits that were suggested. Everybody that made edits, thank you so much for looking through that document. I think it's looking quite good. Do we need to pull that up? Do any of you want me to put that up on the screen here, or do you just want to? Go ahead, Linda.
I mean, I have it.
yeah, you want
Okay.
to walk through it or?
Just, let's see. How do we want to handle this? Can I scroll? Can I actually, oh, I can't really, can I? Yeah, okay.
Should. Yeah.
So I just was going through looking for sort of consistency and references and organize that a little bit. And Trudy had some great ideas to create this. Sorry, I'm just kind of moving around here a little bit, but this last section about how we go about another piece of our work, part of our mission of being proactive and trying to, put the word out there that we're interested in taking on more conservation easements and promoting conservation in the city. So she kind of gave me some bullet points on that, and I put together a draft section. The part that I got, I'm still a little questioning is, and it goes back to like, what is our role?
Mhm.
So it's this section where I started procedure for addressing easement concerns. No, that's not the section. Well, I have a question on that too, but it's about
Or the reserved rights or
yeah.
the.
So I think Joanna or whoever sort of took initial crack at that, it was originally titled procedure to interpret easement terms. Or change, amend easement terms. And, I had in my mind, we shouldn't highlight the fact that amendments are so easy. And I thought it was about sort of coming to the board with a request to exercise a reserved right. But I don't know that our easements are really written that way, the bulk of the ones that we have. So I got a little muddled with that, and Trudy rightly so kind of pointed out, wait, what are you talking about here? What are these reserved rights? So
do you want to explain what those are to folks who may not be as familiar?
Yeah, so reserved rights are, you have a piece of land, you're the landowner, and you set up the conservation easement, and there's not a house on the property right now, but at the time you negotiated the conservation easement, there was agreement that in the future you could put a house on a certain portion of the property, but you need approval first as to specific. So that would be considered a reserve right that you want to come forward and exercise. So that's how I was thinking of this, but I think just taking a step back, I'm not really understanding like who landowners, when they contact, obviously with Kingsport, the landowner contacted the city staff about an amendment. So I guess if we could just talk a little bit about our role, we're really just then hearing from the city that there's a request for an amendment or request for some sort of approval of the city, and we're just in an advisory capacity. Is that really how it goes?
Yes.
Okay.
Good, simple answer. Mm-hmm.
So should this procedure section be about our procedure for recommending approval, or recommending? I don't know what this section should be, basically.
I thought it already kind of read that way, because it says that under G, item G, it says about if the board votes to provide a recommendation to the city.
Okay.
So when I read it, I didn't see it as like, I saw it as already being consistent with that
Okay.
But that was just my
Maybe I just
perspective.
should go back and get rid of my language, my
Yeah.
changes here.
I think maybe just taking out that word reserved right. I think
Yeah.
that's the only thing, just because like you said, it's just we don't have those in the easements currently that we're monitoring. Who knows in the future, but yeah, at the moment.
And then
I did, if we're talking about that section, I had a couple other questions about that section. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't understand what point E, which is the last red thing in that section, is like. I think it's under that section. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Never mind. That's a different section. Okay. I'll hold my question then.
Mhm.
well, I just noticed that this sort of reference is incorrect here because I'll change that because it really refers to if there's a potential, we're monitoring, if in the course of monitoring, we witness a potential violation. Later it says, there's just a paragraph and like our procedure is we let the city know. And that's all it says. But this references paragraph 3, which is more so our procedure for incoming external people letting us know they feel like there's a violation. We feel like there needs to be a little bit of a public process for evaluating that.
I
So I need
see.
to change that reference.
Yeah, actually, I was gonna suggest that maybe we need another little section under the easement monitoring that explains what we do if we find an infraction, because since, like, as you say, that next section is really geared towards
If it
non-board
comes
members.
forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's the procedure for easement enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't, yeah.
So you're thinking adding a little paragraph
Well,
that just
but there's like a gap there though between because so it might just be a matter of cutting and pasting or something like that, because under the part about the easement concerns that are brought to the board from non-board members, it talks about like sending a letter to the property owner. I think that's in that section.
Yeah.
But which is what we would do first before, so like the section that you were just referencing about procedure for easement enforcement is would be after, like if they're not, it would be after we send a letter, right?
after we try to resolve
Yeah. So there's just like that one little piece missing, I think.
Okay.
That maybe could go under easement monitoring and just be like sort of a cut and paste of what's in the other section. But one thing though, since you have this up, is
but less of a public process.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just be the writing the letter.
Feel
part
like
of the other section,
probably
not the whole section.
I'm looking at like maybe
But,
number 3D down, like that. Maybe, and maybe
Yeah.
not all of it, because some of it we wouldn't need after it, but yeah, starting with
Okay.
like after the site visit has happened and then.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Mhm. And I also kind of wondered about whether, because it seemed like, there's like, I feel like there's two seriousness levels of potential easement complaints, like if it's just like trees falling over or somebody dumping yard waste, that's like a different level than somebody building or otherwise significantly encroaching into an easement. And so like, I don't know if, like, if it was just somebody like dumping lawn clippings, I don't know if we would need to go through all of
Right.
this.
You have a very
necessarily.
good point, because I think this is where, under the C,
I like that you had that
where
there. Yeah.
that was my thought of, wait, we need to kind of acknowledge that a site visit may not be warranted, but you're really expanding that to say, right, we may not need to really do anything other than
Just send them a
make a phone
letter
call. Yeah,
or
send a
something.
letter.
Yeah. Or a phone call.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought putting that in here, I thought was really like, if a site visit is warranted, I think that sort of gives us that out to say, like, this is not a high level concern. And then we can just move down to where it just says, I think, yeah, mail a letter. And then if it's not resolved after that, we move forward.
Well, so should we switch C and B then? Because first you're consulting with the city attorney and then determining if a site visit is warranted. But like, if it was just like lawn clipping, I don't think you would need to consult with the attorney before, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we
Yep.
can just switch those two bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're doing great.
Okay, well, I'll try to remember that.
I'm making a note. So you're switching, again, switching B and C. Okay. All right. I'm trying to capture them too. Okay. Yeah. Other things you want to bring up, Linda, or other questions or suggestions that people have?
Can somebody just please remind, I know we've talked about this before, but is this getting codified? Like, is the city council doing anything with this, or is this just going into our own
Yes.
procedures?
I see Ashley's coming off. Go for it.
So the current city code regulation requires that it go to the Rules Standing Committee just for consideration and comments. It has to get posted in a newspaper for 30 consecutive days. It has to get posted on a city website for the same period or an additional 30 days. And then at the end of all of that, it goes to
Open.
hold on one second. And then you sort of give a report as an informational item only to city council about the comments
Okay.
received, and that's it. So council never actually votes on it per se. They just provide comments during the rules committee and then get a final update at the end of the whole process.
Okay.
So what happens if we want to amend it later? Like, if we find that,
In theory, the way it's written now, although it is on my bucket list to update that section, you would have to go through the whole process again. Because it is
okay.
it is written rather broadly to cover a whole slew of different city entities, agencies, departments, boards, and commissions. And it doesn't sort of carve out any sort of minor changes or things of that nature.
I see Jackie, you got your hand raised.
Yeah, Ashley, did you say it just has to be a report out to the rules committee or the full city council?
It has to go to rules first, and they can provide feedback, but they don't vote on it. So they can provide recommendations, I guess. Again, the legislation is not very clearly written. But yeah, so it goes to rules first. They provide a general recommendation. At the same time, you can do the website and newspaper posting. So all of that can be happening concurrently. And then after all of that is done, you take any comments you've received and you write up a report. You make any final changes you might want to do before you adopt it. And then it gets adopted.
Okay.
But I should add, it's sort of the process hasn't been really used a ton, and there are definitely some issues and conflicting language in the legislation. So I've been trying to walk a number of different departments and commissions through it. So it's
So get everything you want done the first time around.
Yeah. No, we talked about that at our last meeting too, Karen. I know we all kind of said like, well, do we need to take the time to, really walk through this as opposed to just sort of approving it last meeting and then making amendments. And so we decided to take another good crack at it. Yeah, but it's a great question. Any other pieces you all think are missing? Or yeah, Linda, did you want to walk through this section that you've got it on? I like the new section you put in there, that one you've got up on the screen right now. That was a good level of detail. What do y'all think? Any other questions, concerns, things you think are missing, things we need to rethink?
I just had some minor questions. And I do want to say, like, I think this is a really great document. So thank you very much, Linda, for drafting it.
Well, for tweaking it, someone else drafted it.
Oh, okay.
I think Joanna probably.
Well, whoever, for everyone involved in where it's gotten to so far, it's really impressive. So I appreciate the work. I'll just go through my minor questions in order, I guess. So under the procedure for addressing easement concerns, section 3, about people outside the board coming to us, the first bullet under there said that they would contact the city via letter or email. And but our signs have a phone number. So is there a reason, like, is there a legal reason why that has to be in writing? Or can we say add phone to that?
This will be my response, and maybe Ashley has a more of a legal response here. I would say the only reason I would push to have it in writing, just so we know exactly what that person said and exactly what their concern is. But that, that would be my only statement there.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that then we need to change our signs, I think, or like, replace our signs, because they only have, if I remember correctly, they only have a phone number.
Yeah, I would imagine they don't have an email. I don't think they do either, Karen. Do we know that number is still valid?
I was going to say, who does the phone? Who does
it might not. I don't know. That's a good question.
Because could then that person just say, "Hey, you need to submit a complaint."
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a note to send. I guess maybe Racine, could I send that phone number to you? Would you be able to find out if it's still a valid phone number?
Yes, send it to me, and
Okay.
I'll do a little bit of investigative
Good
work.
luck.
I may not be able to get an answer for you as far as who it belongs to, but I'd be willing to see if it belongs to anyone in the city.
Yeah, and we can always just call it and see what happens too. Probably the easiest thing. Yeah. Who is this? Yeah. Okay.
I can already hear in my mind the sound you hear when it's a disconnected number. That beeping noise.
Exactly. Oh, that could be it. Okay.
And then my next question was actually that line D where your cursor was, about what it says in accordance with state laws as applicable. And I was just like, I wasn't sure what state laws would, like, what that might be.
You said where my cursor is?
Yeah, right there where it says with, like they would meet in accordance with state laws. Like, are there state laws that govern our meetings? I wasn't sure what that.
Yeah, it's the right now it would be the Open Meetings Act.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But in theory it could change, but yeah, it would be Open Meetings Act governs how you meet.
Okay. Let's see. And then also, there are a couple of places it talks about that we would give any recommendations we have to the city manager. And that seems a little too high up to me. Like we've never given our recommendations to the city manager before. Like it seems like it should go through either go to our liaison or go to a department head maybe, rather than
Or
the
it's
city
like,
manager.
maybe the concept is the city manager or her designee.
Yeah, that would be,
That's good.
that would be a good way
If
to do it. Yep.
Positions and titles change or something.
I think what happened there, Karen, is that before that would have gone to DNEP or the Office of Environmental Policy, but since they created my position, moved Racine and I over to the city manager's office, and we are the staff liaison, that's why it says city manager's office.
Oh, okay.
Because we're considered part of the city manager's office.
Gotcha. Okay.
I like saying like to city manager or their designee or whatever. I think that's good, just in case there's ever another change in the structure of city departments, so I don't have to go through this, whatever it is, 60-day process to amend this thing again. Hopefully that won't happen, but okay.
That's all I had.
All I got.
Yeah.
And Jack, did you have something? You good? No. Let's see. Any other, questions, comments? Patrick, what you think? I know you've got a law background.
Looks good to me.
So meet you. Good.
No, you guys have done a really good job putting this together.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Linda, for doing all these great improvements and everyone's suggestions, of course. How do you guys feel? Do you feel like we're ready to approve this now with suggested edits, or would you feel more comfortable, like Linda, do you want to make the suggested edits and then we'll take a look at it again? How are you guys feeling?
I move that we make the suggested edits and take another look at it before we vote on approval.
I second. Yeah, I agree with Karen.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
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 And Tom, if you want, you can come off and just let me know if that.
I agree. I didn't press the right button. Sorry.
That's okay. I understand. Great. All right. So the motion is we'll make the edits. We'll take a look at it next time and then might be ready to move it through that process. Thank you guys so much. I know sometimes that work can be tedious, but it's incredibly helpful. I can just say, at least for myself, when we've had some issues come up over the past couple of years, it would have been really nice to have a laid out process. So this makes it a lot cleaner, a lot clearer. Everyone knows kind of what the deal is. So thank you so much for getting through that. So I know we're going a little past 7. I try to keep these to an hour and a half if we can. I did want to let you all know, if you're not aware of this process that's happening right now between the city of Annapolis and the Naval Academy, so the Navy. Okay, and Jackie, I'm going to give this a go and then you can jump in. But so the Navy, so the Department of Defense has a process they call Military Installation Resilience Review, or they like to say MIR for short. You may hear that come up. And this is a process. They provide a grant to localities that are around their installations to take on a resilience review. What the Department of Defense is primarily looking for, they're interested in working with the jurisdiction to figure out what areas surrounding the base. So they are looking outside of the installation walls. What places outside of the installation have resilience needs that could help improve the resilience of the installation. So for example, and Jackie jumping in here, I know some of the conversations are around like getting emergency vehicles to and from the installation. If there's flooding that impacts the base that begins somewhere off base. I'm going to even go a little bit of a step further. I have, I should say, I deal with these a little bit in my day job. And so I've had some conversations with some folks at the Navy about these. It's been a little bit of a gray area as to how far, I should say, how strong the connection needs to be to the area outside of the base and the base itself. And I'll give you an example. So the question has come up, well, what if we're saying outside of the base, there's a need to restore the stream ravine or something, because we think it could potentially be impacting the base downstream of it, you know, or water quality, same kind of thing. And the answer that we're getting back at this time is, if there is a hydrological connection to the base, if there is an ecological connection, it can be considered a resilience connection. And I think what we can do, if we have any questions about this, I'm happy to reach out to my contact, and Jackie worked with her as well. Her name is Zoe Johnson at the base, and have her come in and answer some questions for us. I wanted to bring this up with this group. So Jackie has done a great job. They're working with the consultants right now to try to get information about where are these resilience needs outside of the city that might relate to base installation resilience. And she can give a much better explanation than I can about what that might include. But I thought this group might have some really good ideas. And I think it's not a bad idea for us to think about potentially if there's anything related to, you know, kind of our purview here when it comes to conserving and making connections. If there are restoration needs on any of our properties that we're looking at or immediately adjacent. I think that all fits within our realm. And I thought, this is a great audience. You guys know an awful lot what's going on around here. So I wanted to put that out to you, and not that we'll figure it all out today, but maybe that could be a topic for our next meeting, is bringing back some ideas and thoughts that we could maybe present, I don't know, to Jackie or whatever makes sense.
I think if you have them, you know, sooner rather than later, and you can feed them to me and Joanna, if you think of properties where we need improvements or particular properties, but it always has to have a connection to mission readiness, as they call it, and installation, you know, function. So, for example, today we had our water small group of water people meeting, wastewater, sewer, stormwater from the county, the city, and the installation. And even though some of the treatment plants and pump stations in the county are considered critical to the county's resilience, they don't intersect at all with the installation. So we gave them a low priority. The seawall, on the other hand, is critical to both the city and the installation. What we do affects how we raise it, affects where the water goes, and how the academy does affects us, not so much the county, but it was considered high priority. And so I'm just going to give you, things that might be further away that we consider a very particular area needs to be conserved or restored that has no impact on the installation, and we can't consider that a high priority.
Yeah.
So if you want to give it thought and send, ideas to me and Joanna that I can share with our contractor, Stantec, they're going through that second phase of their analysis on critical assets and trying to rank them at this point. It would be very helpful.
Well, first thing that comes to mind to me, although it might be a bit of a stretch, but this board went through a whole process over many years of trying to get the property at the headwaters of College Creek on which we called the Brewer Avenue easement, into so that would transferred to the city, so it's city-owned property because it's where College Creek first comes out of stormwater drains. And we were hoping that eventually the city, if the city owned it, they could do a restoration project there that would have some water quality improvements to that water coming out of the storm drain. And I'm trying to think if the Navy touches College Creek at all. I think they are on, aren't they? Yeah, I know St. John's is, but I'm trying to think of where.
I think that's where their boathouse is.
Yeah, their boathouse is there.
Okay, so maybe there's a.
I don't know.
There's a little bit of a stretch, but it's all part of College Creek, so maybe.
I would. Yeah, and I would say, Karen, if you anything like that's coming to mind, and Jackie, please jump in here if you disagree, but I would say send it. Put it on the list. Let's send it to the Navy and see if they think it's doable, right? Or whoever.
Navy,
let's give it a
if
shot.
The MER if it's not applicable to the MER, it might be something the city puts on its priority list.
It's supposed to already be on the city's priority list because
maybe they need a reminder.
What's that?
Maybe
they need a reminder.
Well, I mean, it was a while ago, but because it was under I think Maria Broadbent was still working for the city when they had some study done that ranked restoration areas, and it was one of the
our
top.
website. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was one of the top ranked ones.
Okay.
So it
Probably
should
part of
be-
that AECom study list,
Oh,
which
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we work off of. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
So that's, you call it the Brewer Avenue property, try to
Is
get
this
that transferred to the
behind
city.
the Lowe's.
It's all right. I think it's been transferred to the city at this point.
Oh,
It was
oh.
just that they were waiting to try to get a grant or something to do an actual project there. So I think having it transferred to the city. So just to give a bit of background for Patrick and Jack, like this was a property, it was a small subdivision, and this forested area at the headwaters of College Creek in the Germantown Homewood neighborhood was an easement was put on it. The easement was given to the city, but then the property got like the original owner passed away. It was like transferred to their descendants. Their descendants didn't realize they owned it. And then it came to kind of the city's attention and the board's attention at some point because some trees fell, and the neighbors asked the city to get involved. And when the city reached out to the property owner was like, I had no idea I owned that. I don't even want that property. And so then there was like over years, we tried to facilitate this process of getting the property transferred to the city because it would be an ideal location for a restoration project because it's right where the stormwater drains start like empty out into natural channel. So it's a really great place to try to do a water quality improvement project. And my understanding was that transfer happened, but then it's just been in limbo waiting for a grant or something to move it into a restoration project.
Well, that's intriguing.
Okay.
And I'm
So
just-
you said it was Brewer Avenue?
Well, that was the name of the easement, but it's not exactly on Brewer Avenue. It's like on Woodlawn maybe or something like that.
Yeah, because we
But
did
it's
have
near
Brewer-
Brewer.
It's on Woodlawn, and Jackie, I could show you. We could go out there and I
You know
could
where-
show you
okay,
what she's
good.
talking about.
Is it the one that goes up into the cemetery? Is it that area?
No,
Okay.
it's up. So Joanna, is it Joanna that's doing the map? Who has the map
I
up?
am, and I just gave
Okay.
you control to it.
Okay, so
Karen.
if you want to zoom in, I'll try to direct you to where it is.
Oh, I just gave you control. So
Oh,
see
you
if
gave me
can-
control. Oh,
I
nice.
did.
Do I have control?
But maybe you can only just, oh,
Did it do
yeah,
something?
you do. Yeah.
I don't know how to make it zoom in though. I clicked on it and something happened, but nothing. I don't know how to.
Can you scroll like with your little mouse? You know, like a little wheel on your mouse?
No, I'm on a laptop, so it's just like a
At
pad.
the top there's.
Oh, I see. Yep. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I keep moving it and that's messing with it.
Where am I here? Okay,
That's
so
the
that's
headwaters.
Where's the police department?
Right, that gray
This-
on the
mhm.
south side
By-
of the corridor. the
By
trail corridor.
Spa Circle.
Oh yeah, here we go. So
It's-
so it's like up here. It's right here.
Oh, it's
okay.
way up there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that far up. Oh, hey, we're
Yeah.
getting in there. Oh,
It's
that's a
right
funky
here.
property.
It's right. So
Is that
And
long one?
I think the name of
Yeah,
the road
it's
is
right.
Woodlawn.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So
Oh,
this
weird.
is Brewer Avenue, this one here. And we do have an
Okay.
easement also at the end of here. But then we used to have an easement over here, but now it's been transferred to the city because the property owner didn't want it.
Okay.
Mhm. And there's like everything, there's like a big culvert right here or outfall, and everything up watershed of that is pipe. So all the car
Oh, so you
dealerships
could-
on West
Mhm.
Street, like all that
It's a
goes
ton.
into all these
That's
like
interesting,
streets
Karen.
go into pipes that dump out here, and that's where College Creek starts.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the Poplar Trail
Mhm.
here. in the police department.
Okay, just left.
You can, when you drive on Taylor Avenue, you go across where
Yeah.
it goes underneath.
Yeah.
Because the stream kind of goes like this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, police department.
Yeah, we worked on
Thank you
that
for
for
that.
years. Trying to
I
get
remember
that.
you talking about that when I first came on. Yeah, so that's interesting. All right, and then I'm
So
gonna,
if we could get the Navy to give us money to actually do the project, that'd be cool.
it's worth putting it in there. Seeing what you never know. What is important, and I will say that I kind of checked in with my Navy counterpoint on this as well, is that if there is a possibility to get Department of Defense funding for this kind of work through certain grant programs, it will need to be on this military installation review list. So if you've got an idea, it is good to pass it forward, and let's see if it floats, because that's going to be the easiest way to get funding from them anyway, in the future.
Right.
Is there a deadline, Jackie, for when you would need to get information?
Well, they're in that process right now of defining critical assets and challenges and opportunities. They're kind of in that final information gathering stage in the next month. So
next month.
Yeah, please do that in the next month.
So by the end of May, or like this time,
I'd say by
mid-June. Mid-June.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Thank you, guys. Oh, go ahead, Jackie.
Can I mention, there's like 3 things that didn't have time to fit in this agenda today, but they're all for you guys. Can I hit those 3 things real quick? We don't have to decide on them, but you might want to put them on.
We could bring them to the next one, but yeah, if you want to give an introduction, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first I want to mention, there's a group that's forming called, I think they're going to call themselves Save Our Trees, because they want to be bigger than invasives, and they want to be bigger than just Annapolis. Susan Wheatley, Terry McKenna are 2 of the women who are involved in working on this project. But their main thing is to attack English ivy on trees. And they came to the city asking if they could work on city properties, our right-of-ways, and our parks, because they want to start working on Truxton Park as their first project. Why not go big? So Brian Adams, our city forester, and I, and Department of Public Works and Rec and Parks, came up with a volunteer protocol for volunteers working on any projects. It actually could be applicable to anything in the city, just so they have, and then work with the Office of Law to get a waiver for all the participants, and what their requirements are as far as notice and permissions. But so I want to let you know that they want to work in Truxton, but they also recently came to me asking me about Jones Cove, and they were calling it the Jones Cove Conservation Easement. I think what they're referring to is what we have on our list as, what did I say it was called?
Is it Harbor View, Jackie?
Harbor View, in commas.
Oh, in Eastport?
Yes, in Eastport. So right below the Watergate property. I've been down there with the mayor and one of the stormwater engineers a few years ago looking at the outfall there and the stream erosion. But it was also mentioned to us at that time that the Eastport Civic Association's Eco Action Committee was also interested in working with others in the area on ivy removal. We were like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. But and I said, I think there's a conservation easement there. So I think that's what we're talking about. What they call Jones Cove is that Harbor View easement that we have there. And so the Eco Action Committee, Karen, you may know something about this, wants to work with Save Our Trees and remove English ivy. So the question they wanted me to present to you was, is that okay with you? What kind of recommendation would you make with regard to that?
Let me just say, I don't know anything about what Eco Action is doing because I haven't been involved with them for a while, but I do want to mention that we have done invasive removal or ivy removal in that easement before with the Naval Academy.
Oh,
Kids.
so
that was
mentioned.
a long time ago, but there's a precedent for it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that they're going to be busy in Truxton, but I think that the Eco Action Committee wanted to get moving in there too, working with Save Our Trees, and so that's something you don't have to decide today. I'm not sure when they want to do it. I think fairly soon, but that might be an easy one for you guys to decide even today. That sure, why not let them take down the ivy in there.
It helped a lot when the mids did it. Like, at least, I don't know, I guess it helped for a few years anyway.
So yeah,
But,
that's an issue is
It's a
that, you know,
constant,
Brian Adams does not have anything in his budget for invasives and English ivy removal, nor does Public Works or Rec and Parks. They just don't do it. But, you know, a point was made that it makes we're planting young trees to replace big trees that come down, but we could be saving some of the big canopy trees by taking out the English ivy, which kills them. So, you know, and I said to Brian, well, as follow-up to this, if we're going to have a group that's out there actively taking down English ivy, we should, in future budget years, we should be enhancing his budget for maintenance and also Rec and Parks budget for maintenance to make sure that this group is pretty much going to go in and clip the ivy, saw it away when it's really big, as far as the vines, but they're not going to be spending a lot of time digging up the roots around the tree. So, that's one thing that I think the city forester's budget needs to be enhanced to cover is maintenance.
Yeah, that's always a hard cost, I know.
So that's one
This-
item for you.
And also just for those, I don't know how familiar everybody is, but so this is sort of the Eastport Peninsula here. If you're familiar, go across the bridge from downtown, across Spa Creek, come on down here. This is the Eastport Post Office, and here is the shopping center with, what would be the main store there? I don't know. There are several.
There's Sammy's Pizza. There's
Pizza
the
or
Athletic
liquors.
Club.
Annapolis Athletic Club.
Name your favorite store.
I was going to say Eastport Liquors too, and I thought like that's not probably what I.
That
I should
too.
find.
I'll
What
say
is there? Let's see, yeah. So that's where we're talking about, and this is the eased area here, right? This sort of section.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's kind of a
I
cool little
walked by
spot.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And that's another one that when they built those houses, the big houses there along Americana Drive there, they they made sure the houses were concentrated so that they could put part of the property into easement. So the easement came to the city through the development process. And there's a HOA for those 5 houses that owns the property. So
Yeah.
I think those people were the ones that spoke to the mayor when we were back there a few years ago, saying that they'd be willing to do some of the work. You know, but now Eastport Civic Association has become more involved and is trying to connect with this other group. So are you guys comfortable with making a motion to allow them to make a recommendation to allow them to do work in there?
I'll move that we give them permission to do, I don't know what, the English ivy and other invasive treatment.
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Tom, did you say aye as well? Oops. Lost
Tom is
him.
on mute.
I
I think.
know.
Yeah, I did, yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I probably just missed you.
Yeah. All right.
And no, thank you for bringing that to us, Jackie. And yeah, if you think they'd want to come chat with us or something, we can look at other properties or just to connect.
I think they're going to be busy. I think they wanted to get an answer on that so that the Eastport Civic Association can start to move on it too. But they're going to be busy in Truxton for a while.
Oh gosh, I can't even imagine where you'd start.
Yeah.
Didn't the
and
Back Creek Conservancy come to us at one point for the same property trying to do invasive removal?
That's
I know.
correct. Yeah, that's when I was involved with them, Joan. I remember David Barker.
Did you
Um,
come, Jack? Were you at that meeting?
I don't know if I was at that particular meeting, but I do remember.
Awful. I can't
I do remember David Barker being very gung ho about doing some work down there.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's still, I don't know if they're still looking at that or not, but I remember I think they were looking for some funding or something to try to make that happen. And yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm that the Back Creek Conservancy doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, well, there we have it.
Yeah, but I know that Diane Butler over at Eco Action Committee with Eastport Civic Association has still been looking at it, and it sounds like this is a
Making
part
that
of that.
connection. Okay,
I will give
thank you.
them the good news. Back Creek Conservancy is now part of the Severn River Association.
Oh, thank you, Jackie.
They it's not like they went away.
I missed that. Yeah.
And the other thing I just want to raise, you guys might want to put on the agenda for next time. Brian Adams let Joanna and I know that a property 116 Woodland Avenue, looks like they had cut back some small trees and brush in the conservation easement adjacent to them. And Brian was requiring them to mitigate for the trees that were removed, but then he noticed also when he went out to the property and actually measured that their stone driveway encroaches into the conservation easement by about 25 feet.
Oh dear.
So he just wanted to bring that to your attention, and perhaps we discuss this at, the driveway's there. It's not going away tomorrow. So we can save it maybe for the July meeting about what we might want to recommend with regard to this encroachment.
Should we?
What was the location again?
116 Woodlawn Avenue.
It's right,
Is that
Karen,
this-
it's right where we were just talking about the College Creek.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering if it was. I
Is
wonder
it
if
the
it's all
same
that way.
conservation area, Karen?
What's that?
Is it the same conservation area?
Yeah, it seems like it is.
I don't want to.
Except it seems like they are on the back side of it, like they're not at the outfall side, but I don't know, I'm just putting in a Google Maps real quick. They're
Let me
probably
see if
not real
Brian
happy.
sent me a map or not. I
Oh,
think he
that
did
one.
send us a map.
Well, if he could, yeah, maybe shoot us a map and point out where that encroachment is happening. Should we? I'm thinking about our rules of procedure. Should we do a little site visit, or maybe this is one of the easements we go take a look at?
Yeah, I think maybe you should.
Okay, thumbs up from Jack.
So I guess technically it's not an easement anymore. It's owned fee simple
It's
by the
owned
city.
fee simple,
Just
but
to be clear. But
Oh, true.
it used to be an
true.
easement.
I think it's
Okay,
still,
so
we
now
can
it's
still.
be simple. Okay, by the city, but it's city property. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Go to this. All right, property at site. I think it still would be.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I don't know what happened to the
Okay.
easement when it was the property was transferred to the city. If they dissolved
Well,
the
you
easement
can't-
or if it's
I
just
don't
a
know.
wide easement.
I
'cause
did
it's
send it to
owned.
Ashley a while ago. She has it too. Yeah, he measured both parcels.
Okay.
Sorry, you gonna call?
So yeah,
Um,
you guys can put that on your list so we can
Okay.
get back to Brian. I'll tell Brian that you guys are looking at it.
Yeah, and if he can shoot over any, map he's got, kind of identifying the area he's talking about, and then actually I might check in with you about, I don't know, whatever the latest deed language is and what happened to the easement, if there are any restrictions on it when it transferred to the city, if any of those exist, or just what the status is there. Okay. All right, thank you for bringing those to us, Jackie.
Sure.
And I know we're at 7:30. Thank you guys for hanging in there. I think those were the main updates that I had for you all. I gave before. I think I'd mentioned at our last meeting.
Joanna,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. It'll take 30 seconds for me to say this, and I will send you some information on it, but there's a program that the city has partnered with the Watershed Stewards Academy on, Replant Annapolis, / Tree Troopers program. And it's all about taking care of trees, maintaining them, planting them, finding where to plant them. And Brian Adams is heading it up. And like I said, I'll send you some information, but if you come up with ideas of where trees could be planted, I think that Brian is open to hearing about it.
Great. Yeah, let's definitely send that on over. We could take a look at it. The only thing I was going to share with you guys is thinking about the Greenway map. So Rob Savage, who is on the Environmental Matters Committee for the City Council, sorry, Jackie, I just saw your cat. I guess the Environmental Matters Committee was interested in talking to our board about developing some kind of like a 4-year plan. I think they had suggested potentially for the Greenway map or the Greenway plan or what that's going to look like, and wanted to come chat. I asked if he could come chat with us and sort of share what their thinking was, and maybe we could have a nice little discussion there about what the. I'm sorry, Jackie. I don't know why that's making me laugh so much. Your cat, but it's so cute. So we could kind of talk about what we're thinking long-term for the Greenway map, what that looks like as we try to transition into more of a plan and strategies and what strategies we have and what ideas they have. So I think that will be kind of a nice item for our next agenda that I really wanted to dig into. And maybe, at that point, we can also start to have discussions to look at particular properties we may want to start to reach out to and be proactive and see if there's interest in doing easements on those properties. So really starting to dig into more of this proactive side now that we're also kind of parallel track, getting all of our kind of ducks in a row with all of our procedures and things. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to get rolling on that. Are you guys all good for July? Is there any need for us to meet any sooner? I just wanted to check. And anything, Jackie, on your end?
No,
Hopefully we meet in the next couple of weeks. I sent out that doodle poll for it
Right.
covering the next 3 weeks. So if we can't meet in the next 3 weeks, we'll find another time, but that's the only thing I could think of.
That's perfect. Thanks for doing that, Jack.
I'm actually going to be on vacation again, the July meeting, so I apologize.
Stinker. No, it's important. Take your vacations. Yeah.
well, maybe you can see if there's a better date in June than, like Jack's saying, for a meeting.
So yeah, that'll be the site visits that Jack was talking about, but we could see if there is another time potentially in July. So I think we can do that, right? There's no harm in changing our date. All right. Well, that was a good meeting. Thank you guys. That was really helpful. Got a lot of progress made. Moving along. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you, Jack. And I'll go ahead and second that. And then all in favor say aye. Just raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
That's good.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys.